Howdy minions, goons, and soon-to-be servants of the Nimzy Nova Empire. This video you're about to watch comes from another channel that I do. I don't make gaming stuff there anymore, so I'm reposting it here. I have a few videos like this from that channel, but it does art now, and some of the ones I'm working on reference these videos, so I'm reposting them here because they kind of have to be here now. I hope you enjoyed them, even if your emperor and ruler, me, isn't in them.
Howdy Earthlings. For the past few days I've been pretty sick, and before that I was sick for about a week. Only I could be unlucky enough to get sick for a week just to catch something worse as soon as I get better. I think I had a cold at first, then I got stomach flu from Connie, because she works with kids and kids are pretty good at spreading illnesses. You can teach them to wash their hands and cover their mouths when they cough, but as soon as their parents are gone, they forget to do that. It happens. But while I was sick, I was stuck in bed, couldn't even sit at my desk without wanting to empty my stomach, so I was bored. Refreshed news sites all day and found a new survey from Consumer Reports that says 14% of Americans still play games released before 2000. Well into the timeline many of us would agree to be retro. I consider 2005-2007 backwards to be retro as well, and I imagine when you add the GBA and PSP to those numbers, the percentage would be much higher. The modding community surrounding the GBA being a huge contributor to that number, I imagine. Elsewhere, I even saw that among Gen Z, those born in the post-internet era, 24% of them also played retro games, so I thought I'd break down why I think that is. Modern games come with additional fees. It used to be that I could go into a store, buy a game, pop it into my system, and play it from start to finish with that one price. Now there's no shortage of free options to play these days, but they, of course, come with their own hidden fees and such. Most of the time it's just optional cosmetics. But a lot of these games use predatory marketing techniques that take advantage of human psychology. Things like fake sales, fear of missing out, artificial scarcity, and like Fortnite said in a stock meeting once, they view their game as a digital marketplace where people are paying large amounts of money for nothing in return. So you think buying a modern game that is full price, the full $70 that it is now, which that price hike is also bullshit, but you think buying that would have all of the content in the game. You're paying for a premium service. You should receive a premium product, right? No. The vast majority of paid games outside of indie games have similar marketing to free games now. It snuck its way into paid games too. So now people are paying for the pleasure to be advertised to, and to pay further. The saying is, if the product is free, then you're the real product. Well, it looks like if the product is paid, you're still the product. A perfect example of this is Call of Duty. You pay $70 every year for a slightly different game, then they put ad after ad into the game through pop culture references, and then charge you a ridiculous fee for a bundle when you really only want just the skin. If they don't do that, then they do DLCs, which I'm typically fine with, but they don't even do DLC the way they used to. My first DLC was Elder Scrolls Oblivion Shivering Isles, and it was great. It was huge, it was weird, it was wacky. The craziest thing about it though, if you got the Game of the Year edition of Elder Scrolls Oblivion, it came with it on the second disc. But yeah, today, you get a code instead that has an expiration date. Also yes, Oblivion turns 20 years old next year, which would make it a retro game, a vintage game. I wouldn't mind paying for the DLC if it actually added anything new, but it's usually 4 DLCs with only one being a genuine new big DLC and the rest being shit like horse armor. I'm not going to pretend everything about Oblivion was great. It looked like garbage even for its day. But remember when we made fun of the idea of horse armor, and now we're paying $20 for Dr. Blunt and Schmokin'. Yippee! Skins in a first-person game where you can't even see yourself to see your own skin. So personally, I don't see the value in paying for the same exact game, or worse, with ads baked into the game. Modern games come with an expiration date, aka we actually like to own things. Everyone who buys a modern video game buys it knowing that there will be a day where it no longer functions. Nearly everything, as previously mentioned, runs on a live service model. Even some single-player games are live service titles. So you buy a multiplayer game knowing one day that the community will die off, probably just 3 months later, and the only people left playing are sweats, so you leave too. The next one comes out in 9 months, so you'll get that one too. Maybe you're lucky and the game keeps its servers up for 10 years and then the lights shut off. Maybe the game lives so long that it's just a shell of its former self. Like it lives so long that you get to witness the publisher destroy what you love. Now, if it's a single player game, your expiration date is going to depend on how you bought the game. If you bought it digital, then you may as well roll the dice because you only have access to it, you don't own it. You have the digital license to access the game and they can revoke it whenever they like. You agree to that once you click buy. If it's physical, you have it as long as you can keep the disc in good condition, so ideally forever, but as many GameCube and Dreamcast gamers are finding out, even physical games have an expiration date. It's called disc rot. If the manufacturer or publisher decided to slack on the disc quality, you may find that your disc is eating itself in about a decade. You might think you don't care about that right now. 10 years is a long way away, but you can't really guarantee that you won't care in 10 years. But this is something you'll deal with regardless of the generation. Retro games are cheaper. Everything is getting expensive. There's so much inflation going around and none of it is the good kind. I want to make balloon animals. Food is more expensive, rent is constantly climbing, electric, and even video game prices are going up. That's why indie games are such a blessing. For the cost of one new AAA game, I can get between 3 and 10 games that I'll play much longer. Or in my case, I bought The Witcher 3 brand new and haven't played it at all. I bought it at launch and haven't played it at all. If I'm never going to play a game, I want it to be a cheap one. Sure, I could play The Witcher 3 now, but at this point it's funnier to me that I haven't. Maybe I'll buy a remaster of it if it ever comes out and then never play that one. Anyway, with all of us having to cut back, we're getting pickier about our entertainment and how we spend our time. I don't want to spend $70 on a game I might enjoy when I can get a retro game that I know I will. Or at least I'll feel much better about experimenting with something new if it's not expensive. Like, would I have ever bought Hamtaro Ham Hams Unite at launch? Hell no. 2 decades later, and it's free, and it's looking a lot more appealing. Also, it's surprisingly good. It's like a point-and-click adventure game, but you use cute commands you unlock to prompt the appropriate reactions to find the missing hams, or unlock more commands. 100% would have never bought this game. Now that I played it and watched the anime, I bought merch for it. But I think that sums up my point exactly. I'm not going to pay $70 to be disappointed. Of course, if you're an original hardware-only kind of person, you might be a lot pickier about this since some games are as or more expensive than before. But hey, if you're not one, then you probably already have a PC that you can emulate with. Even a Chromebook can run GBA. Your phone can. There are phones that can run GameCube and PS2 right now. If you have a PS2, you can buy a modded memory card and run games from USB. Chances are one of your old consoles can easily be modded to run its current games and backwards. I'll play pirated old games and save my money for when the game industry releases something I actually want. Hamtaro Battle Royale when? Nostalgia is a hell of a drug. America is a country that cares a lot about tradition, like most countries. Maybe because of the constant economic decline, we're even more nostalgic for the days and games of our youth. Times were simpler. I went to school, didn't listen to anything in school, went to lunch and played GBA, back to school and not listening, then went home and played more Game Boy. Needless to say, I wasn't a very good student. You can tell because I'm a YouTuber now. Nostalgia tells us that everything was better back then because we were kids and we didn't have the responsibilities that we do now. So it's not so much that we were nostalgic for the game, so much as we are for the time and place we were in when we enjoyed those games. They were more special then. We didn't have the time to play as much. The games were special then. We didn't get as many games then as we do now. This doesn't explain it for the younger half of Gen Z who didn't get to experience an internet-free life. But in a few years, if it isn't already happening, we're going to see a lot of kids nostalgic for the DS and 3DS. But I fear what Gen Alpha is going to be nostalgic for. I can't imagine growing an attachment to something that I can't experience again. I can always go back and play something from my childhood, even if not physical. I have a hard drive of my favorites and my saves. Is Gen Alpha going to be able to do that? There will probably be private servers, but those get shut down all the time. My favorite MMO, SMT Imagine, gets shut down pretty routinely. I've given up on ever reaching endgame again. So, why would I play something new I don't have an attachment to? Why would I buy a remaster when my original works perfectly fine? Oftentimes the remasters are worse. The internet. It's so funny that games from before the internet era are benefiting so much from the age of the interwebs. I remember listening to some emo music one day and thinking, kids nowadays would love this if they knew about it. Angst is present in every generation. I opened TikTok and scene and emo are still growing and blooming just outside my field of vision. This happens with retro games with me too. I'll play an old game and I'll see a character and think, If this came out now, there would be so much porn of this character. Then you check, and yep, it's there. I guess a more normal example might be retro hangouts like Discord, forums, backlogged retro achievements and stuff like that that are heavily populated still. Despite these games not having online functionality, you can still get together and experience games with people. YouTube and Twitch being the best examples. I'll watch reviews for a game I have no interest in. Like Ultima is complicated as hell looking, and I never played PC games before 2019. But I've been watching Madular's reviews, and even if I don't want to play Ultima, it does make me want to play retro games. Shrimply, these games are getting more advertisement and publicity now than ever. Maybe game companies don't need predatory marketing in order to make money, but I guess that's easier than making a good game that spreads by word of mouth. As a streamer, I have fun exploring old games I've never played and sharing those that I love with others. Like in my podcast, Experience Shared, me, Blythe, Brooke, and Connie play a game and then get together and talk about it like a book club. Then when it's my turn, I use that as an opportunity to play games that I've been curious about. Blythe uses it as a chance to do the same, Rook shares games from his childhood, and Connie picks stuff she's been curious about too. Old games are new again when you experience them with people who've never played them before. Which is why I played through Shadow of the Colossus 14 times, because every time someone says they haven't seen it, I play it again. Also, there's just something so glamorous about having a collection. We see YouTubers like Metal Jesus Rocks, and we want a collection like that. I want to own weird old things too. That's why I got a Wonder Swan, because no one else knew what the hell it was. Now I'm playing games that even some of the biggest of gaming nerds don't know about. I can't understand them because they're all in Japanese, but it's still pretty cool. Modding. What's old is new again. Thanks to advancements in many technologies since the creation of these devices, it's become incredibly affordable to repair and modify your own systems. Say you love Gengar. Who doesn't? Gengar's fucking sick. So you want a GBA with a Gengar shell. Nintendo never made one, but there are pre-made shells that exist and even people who will do custom paint jobs for you. For example, I want to get a custom shell for my Game Gear. If you're someone who drops money on repairing or improving a device, you're going to make excuses to play it, and you'll probably play nothing but it. When I repaired my Wonder Swan, I played it for 2 weeks straight until I got sick, and I might play it more now that I'm not sick. The backlog. Backlogs aren't a recent invention, and with the ease of access of retro games, those backlogs have only gotten longer. I've gone from wanting to play maybe 25 games and finish them to needing to play every RPG ever, but let's be real, I'll never do that unless they figure out immortality. Thanks to YouTube and other sites though, we have a near endless source of recommendations, so most retro gamers are, like me, trying to balance things they've had on their backlog and playing games that they love again. Personally, I've been poor my whole life, so I rarely got new games as a kid. I didn't get magazines, and we didn't have cable, so I didn't really have a way of knowing what games I'd like before I got them. I was often presented with the option of multiple games, and I could only choose one. Even if you weren't poor, this was probably pretty common too. A lot of us chose one game and ended up wondering what the other game would have been like. There's also sleeper hits. Games that were really, really good, but we had no idea that they existed because they weren't, advertised everywhere. For example, I grew up with RPGs because they offered the most playtime for the amount of money spent. Nowadays, I recommend rating a game based on its quality. Revolutionary, I know. But yeah, RPGs won out, or high replayability games. So I played Final Fantasy, Ratchet & Clank, Pokemon, Etrian Odyssey, Persona, but I had a PS2, and if you know anything about the PS2, it's 50% RPGs and 50% games that have a mandatory driving minigame. So I missed out on a lot of games because a lot of games were anime, and I didn't get into anime until I was older, so I wasn't really interested in the style. So there's stuff like Xenosaga that I'm still curious about. It had 3 games, and the final one is super expensive, so it's probably pretty good. Systems like the Wii are full of sleeper hits, too. And you know what? Maybe I want to play some bad games, too, but I just don't want to have to spend a lot of money on them. ROM hacks. What's old is new again. Wait, I've said that already. But it's still true here, too. Let's take my favorite example that I'm pretty sure people aren't tired of. Pokemon Scarlet runs like garbage on the launch Switch. It was buggy at launch, it has DLC, the additional type sucks, and it's going to be phased out next game for another dumb mechanic that everyone will complain about. It's annoying to Nuzlocke because of its long intro. Not everything needs to be an open world game. Personally, I think Swish was the perfect balance of open world and linear, but I digress. What if you wanted to play a much better Pokemon game that runs at 60 FPS but still has all those new Pokemon? Well, you can. There's Emerald mods that increase the difficulty, add the new Pokemon, and some that add one-off mechanics of their own, like fusion Pokemon. It's not just Pokemon either. There are other games that have hacks that can completely change the game too. Some of these hacks are also translation patches allowing you to play games that you couldn't before, like Mother 3, Swordcraft 3, and Tomato Adventure in English. Games that still haven't come stateside. Quality. I'm not saying good games don't get made anymore so much as I'm saying major companies have figured out their formulas for success. Gameplay and controls, for the most part, have been standardized across their respective genres. This might sound good, but this also means less weird or unique games. I don't think a game like Katamari Damacy would have been made if it was proposed and suggested these days. Of course, there's like sequels and stuff like that, but we've already proven that the game is good with previous entries to give it those new ones. Katamari Damacy, for example, is an incredibly fun game, and it has a very weird control style that probably wouldn't fly today if it was brand new today and was just released today. Or, well, I don't think it would even get released today. So, you push the ball forward in directions by tilting the control sticks in both the same direction at the same time. And then there's other stuff that you can do, like flick the sticks to build up speed and stuff like that. It controls very weirdly, and the game is weird and silly and goofy, and I just think it's not the kind of thing that would have been released nowadays if it was brought up and suggested. But the 2 analog stick control scheme, it really makes it enjoyable. I think you could enjoy the game if it was still 1 stick controlled, but something about the 2 stick controls, it really makes it special. What I'm trying to say is that you don't get experimental or weird games from major companies anymore. They're all trying to make the most milquetoast game as possible to sell as many copies as possible. This has led to a lot of games just blending in with each other. Like, I'm so tired of the open world game genre. They're all climb a tower, scout out points of interest, then go and do them. There are a series of checklists. I can tell you some of my favorite Far Cry moments, and I couldn't tell you for sure which of the 3 I played it came from. Back when developers didn't know what the recipe for success was, they did a lot more creative things, and some of these were definite misses, but some of them are really great, like Patapon and Katamari. That's all the reasons I can think of personally. It's mostly reasons why I play retro games. This video wasn't about why you shouldn't play modern games. I still play modern games, but I know there are lots more games on older systems that will satisfy me a lot more than the new stuff will. I'm blaming my case on my age, mostly. I'm 33, cynical, and a YouTuber. So I have a psychological need to make everyone know what my opinion is, regardless of whether they ever wanted it in the first place. This might sound like a cliche, but they really don't make them like they used to.
Thanks for watching. If you like this video, you should check out my blog on nimzynova.com. I post stuff like this there, as well as news and exclusives. I also post stuff here on YouTube that isn't there, so keep an eye on both of these. I'll see you soon with a fresh new video. After all, the Switch 2 is only 6 days away now. Bye. Bye 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 bye.